Hi there, in the following video I will work through the November 2012 calculator paper, which is 2 hours long. Remember, full workings always required. Here's question 1. Work out the value of x. So we are asked to find this value here. Now, I'm going to do a tiny little bit of revision down the side here. Say you have a polygon. A polygon is a shape made up of straight sides. So say you have a polygon as follows, okay, and you want to work out what the sum of all the interior angles are. What are the sum of all these angles? Then what you can do is you can pick yourself a corner, pick one corner and stay in that corner, draw a line to each of the other corners, and you create yourself 3 triangles, and in each side of each triangle the angles add to 180. So inside this polygon you have 180, 180 and 180, so you have yourself 540 degrees. So this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided polygon, and you have 540. You can do that with any polygon. Now, in case you've forgotten, this one here is a quadrilateral. Okay, this one's here is a quadrilateral, 4 sides, so it must add up to 360. What's this angle here? Well, if we call that angle y, we could say that y is equal to 180 subtract 105, which is equal to 75 degrees. And the reason that is because angles on a straight line. So angles on straight line add to 180. And then you know that all of these angles, this one, this one, this one, and this one, which we now know is 75, must add to 360. So therefore x must be 360 subtract 100, subtract 50, and subtract 75. And when you do that on your calculator, you can use calculator. This would be 260, 210, and this would be equal to 135 degrees. 135 degrees. Okay, so there is your x answer, 135 degrees. Next question. John scores 2 marks in these tests, so he scores 18 out of 25 in test A, and he scores 30 out of 40 in test B. Which test gives a higher percentage mark? You must show your working. Very straightforward. 18 out of 25 times 100, okay, would give you 72%. 30 out of 40 multiplied by 100 would give you 75%, and therefore make a conclusion. Don't just leave your answer like that. Therefore, test B, he scored higher. Okay, so the answer is test B. Simple, another 3 marks. This question here, we're asked to solve the following. So first, let's expand the brackets. 3 times 2x is 6x, 3 times 4 is 12. Then you've still got your plus 8 is equal to 15. It's 4 marks, so do 1 mark for expanding. Then collect like terms. 6x plus 20 is equal to 50. That would probably get you your 2nd mark. Take away 20 off both sides. Tell the examiner what you're doing. 6x would be therefore equal to 30. Maybe that's the 3rd mark. And the last mark, divide by 6. Tell the examiner what you're doing. X would therefore equal 5, and that would be your 4th mark. X is 5, state it, and then don't go away until you have obviously checked your answer. Let's double check it works. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 4 is 14. 3 times 14 is 42, and 42 plus 8 gives me the 50. I've checked it, I know I'm right. I don't have to check this in the exam again. Question 4. Put each of these numbers into the correct box. So, what number is both a square and a cube? Let's put an S by square. Not square, not square, not square, not square, not square. That's the only square number. It is also a cube number. 64 must go here. It is 8 squared and it is 4 cubed at the same time. Okay, an odd number and a cube number. Okay, what other cube numbers were there? Not cube, 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 and we want the odd one as well, so that must be 27. What's an even cube number? Well, that must be the 8 that's left over. So we've dealt with that, and dealt with that. Do we have a prime number that is odd? Well, yes, 11 is prime and odd. And do we have an even number that is prime? 2. 2 is the only even prime number. So it's a special number. Okay? Why is it never possible to put any number in the shaded box? For a number to be in the shaded box, it would need to be both square and prime. Now, a square number, well, let's think about how many factors it has. It has at least 3 factors. What are those 3 factors? 1, itself, and the square root. Okay? But a prime only has 2 factors. And that's enough to get you your mark in that case. Next question. Question 5. Work out A when x is 6 and y is -1. Right, I'm going to substitute in here and always substitute with brackets. 4. Okay, and I'm going to even substitute in a different colour pen here. 6, 4 bracket 6 plus 3 bracket -1, all divided by 6, subtract, and this is why it's important, otherwise you'll make a mistake, -1. Okay, so let's work this out now. Equals down the page. 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times -1 is -3, so let's subtract 3. And 6 subtract -1 is 7. So this is the same thing as 21 over 7, which of course is 3. So the answer is 3. Question 6. Circle the 2 equations that are equivalent to this. So let's take this. Let's try and actually just work it out without having to look at the answers. What could we do to this? Well, we could divide everything by 2. Divide both sides by 2, let's say. And we would get y is equal to 3 over 2x plus 4 over 2, which is 2. Any of the above do that for us. Well, this one is 3 over 2x plus 4. This can't be right, so we'll eliminate that. And the only other one it could be maybe this one. And it could be because if we subtracted 3 over 2x off both sides, we would get y subtract 3 over 2x is equal to 2. So we know this one is the correct answer. Okay, any other ones it could be? Well, can we think of something that can't be? This is 2y is equal to 3x plus 4, and we've got 2x is equal to 3y plus 4. It's pretty obvious it can't be that one, so it must be this one by default. Let's just check what they've done. All they've done here is to get from 2y is equal to 3x plus 4. Okay, all they've done here is subtract 2y off both sides. So they got 0 is equal to 3x, subtract 2y plus 4. So the answers are B and D. Nice and simple. Question 6. The diagram shows a circle inside a square. Work out the area of the circle. Now you should know that the area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. So we need to state r. Now if you know this length is equal to 8 here, then you know that this length, namely the diameter of the circle, is equal to 8. So you know therefore that r must be equal to 4 centimeters. And now it's just a case of substitution. So therefore it's pi multiplied by 4 squared, which is 16 pi. Now you could leave your answer as 16 pi, or say if we were going to round the answer, we were given everything. Let's do 16 pi and work it out. If you put that into your calculator, you get 52.26. You could say that is, say, 50.3 centimeters squared and state to 1 dp. So that answer, or that answer would be sufficient. But make sure if you do round, don't round too far, but make sure if you round, you state what you've done. Okay? Okay, next question. Question 8. Work out the area of this triangle. Well, you should know the area of a triangle that you know the perpendicular height, and this here is the perpendicular height. What I mean by that is it's the height at right angles to the base, because it's got a right angle there. So the area of a triangle is a half the base times the perpendicular height. Okay, and we usually write that as half the base times the height. So all we have to do is a half multiplied by 8.6 multiplied by 5.2. We're asked to round to 1 dp, so be careful to read the question. 0.5 times 8.6 times 5.2, we get ourselves 22.4 to 1 dp, 22.4. Make sure you don't forget to round. There's one of the marks for rounding. Question 9. Show that the equation x cubed plus 8x is equal to 30 has a solution between 2.2 and 2.3. This is trial and improvement, and it's for 2 marks. What you're going to do is you're going to firstly work out 2.2 cubed plus 8 multiplied by 2.2 on your calculator. Okay? And when you do that, you get the answer 28.2, which is not 30, it's too low. Now if you work out 2.3 cubed plus 8 multiplied by 2.3 on your calculator, you actually get 30.6 to 1 dp, 30.6, and that is clearly too high. So therefore, there is a number, there's a solution between 2.2 and 2.3. Because 2.2 is too low, 2.3 is too high, there must be somewhere between 2.2 and 2.3 that's equal to 30 exactly. Question 10. Now, draw a picture for these to stop me making mistakes, because people make mistakes on these ones. There is a drink, okay, and it's 1.5, let's just do a drink here. And 1.5 litres orange juice, 7.5 litres lemonade. So 7.5 litres lemonade, okay, and 1.5 litres orange juice, okay. What fraction of the drink is made of orange juice? Well, the fraction must be 1.5 out of 9. Now, a lot of people write 1.5 out of 7.5. It's not, it's 1.5 out of the total, which is 9. Okay, so if we want to simplify this and make it a proper fraction, because we're told to give the fraction in simplest form, we could double top and bottom, which would be equal to 3 over 18. But that's not a simplified fraction. We could then divide top and bottom by 3, and we get 1 over 6. So the simplest answer is 1 over 6. 1 mark for simplifying, and the other marks for actually working it out. Nice and easy. Now, the next question talks about a different drink is made from 2 litres of blackcurrant and 12 litres of water. So let's just draw this picture out. Actually, let's just draw it out as follows, okay? Now, we've got 2 litres of blackcurrant, okay? And we've got 12 litres of water, okay? How much more blackcurrant juice should be added so that 25% of the drink is blackcurrant juice? Well, if 25% of the drink is blackcurrant, then 75% must be water. Agreed? When we change it. So this must be equal to 75%. So therefore, 75% is the same thing as equivalent to 12 litres. Right? So 25% dividing by 3 must be equivalent to 4 litres. Now we've already got 2 litres, so therefore we need an extra 4 litres, subtract 2 litres, which is 2 litres. So how much more blackcurrant? Well, 2 litres must be added. Okay, so therefore you would add 2 more litres of blackcurrant so that you would have the ratio 4 to 12, which would give you 25% of the drink. Okay, Mark went fishing on 4 Saturdays. Work out the mean number of fish caught per hour. The mean number of fish caught per hour. Well, he caught 4 fish. over 2.5 hours. So you simply type that in your calculator, 4 divided by 2.5, and you get yourself 1.6 fish. Okay? Now, the next question says, and this it says, one of the fish I caught, Mark said, was 5 kilograms. Which week did this happen? Now, let's think what this table is saying. It's saying I caught 4 fish, and the mean or average weight of those fish was 1.2. So in week 1, he must have caught in total 4 multiplied by 1.2, 4.8 kilograms of fish, right? Because in order to get a mean weight of 1.2, it must have been 4.8 divided by 4. Okay, so let's do the same for week 2. Well, week 2, he must have caught 1 multiplied by 2.3, which is 2.3 kilograms. In week 3, he must have caught 6 multiplied by 0.8, which is again 4.8 kilograms. And in week 4, 3 multiplied by 1.9, and that's 5.7 kilograms. Therefore, the only week he could have possibly caught a 5 kilogram fish was in week 4. So therefore, week 4 is the answer. You leave this working on your page because he caught 5.7 kilograms in total, and no other week did he catch 5 kg in total. Okay, and it's as simple as that. Next question, question 11, expand and simplify. Let me show you the common mistake. Please do not do this. X plus 6 squared, students write x squared plus 6 squared, and they write x squared plus 36. This is not right at all. Do not fall for that mistake. Let's do this together. X plus 6 squared means x plus 6 multiplied by x plus 6. And we expand our brackets out. X multiplied by x is x squared. X multiplied by 6 is 6x. And going the other way, 6 multiplied by x is 6x. And 6 multiplied by 6 is 36. Combining like terms, we would get x squared plus 12x plus 36. Okay? Next question, 12b, expand and simplify. This is a mistake a lot of students do as well. Let me just take a second to show you this. They say negative 3, let's say, multiplied by x minus y. They say this is negative 3x plus subtract 3y. It's not equal to that. What you have to be careful of is that we think of it as negative 3 times x and then negative 3 multiplied by negative y. So we're going to, so if we wanted to work out this answer, negative 3 multiplied by x is negative 3x, negative 3 multiplied by negative y, negative times negatives are positive, so positive 3y. So let's do this when we work on this here. So we've got 9w. We're going to do 9w times 3x. 9 times 3 is 27. W times x is just wx. Okay. Then 9w multiplied by negative 4y. Okay. Well, that would be a positive times negatives and negative. 3 times 4 is 36, and wy, you get wy. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky. It's negative 5w times x, so that would be negative 5wx, and negative 5w multiplied by positive y, which would be negative 5wy. Now you can collect like terms. So you've got 27wx subtract 5wx, which is 22wx, and then you've got yourself negative 36wy, take away another 5wy, which is negative 41wy. Be careful to get that right. It's 4 easy marks if you've got your thinking hat on, otherwise you're dropping marks where other students are picking up. Next question. Matt made a spinner. He spun it 200 times. How many times would you expect it to show number 5? Well, the probability of getting 5, if it's fair, is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a fifth. So therefore you would expect 200 multiplied by a fifth, which is 40. In an ideal world, you'd expect 40 times. However, the next part says, after we span it these number of times, this is what happened. Do you think the spinner is fair? Well, that's quite close to 40, that's quite close to 40, that's quite close to 40. These two aren't. It may or may not be fair. To be honest, you actually don't know. So, I would probably state that you cannot tell. I would say that 65 and 27 are not too far from 40. And I would state that due to randomness, and that's the key word to get in here, the examiner is looking for the word random or randomness. So due to randomness, results often differ from expected. And it might be a nice point to say, should do more trials to test. Now, you could alternatively say that, it looks as if it could be biased, but you should get in the word random, but you don't know due to randomness, so you should test. So it's not absolutely clear in this paper. Next question. This pentagon has a vertical line of symmetry. The ratio of the angles BCD is 6 to 3 to 4. Now, don't call that angle 6. It's not 6 degrees. It's telling you the ratios are in this. So if you could call that, for example, 6x, and therefore this one would be 3x, this one would be 4x, and because it's symmetrical, it tells you this one would be 4x and this one would be 3x, right? Okay, so you've got a shape here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. And what do the inside angles of a 5-sided shape add to? Well, I'm just going to draw a 5-sided shape here. Remember earlier how I said you do that? Pick a corner and stick to that corner. Draw lines there and to each corner. And you have 1, 2, 3 triangles. Each one's 180. So you have 3 times 180 is 540. So state that the interior add to 540, and the interiors in terms of x's 6x, 9x, 13x, 17x, 20x. Therefore 20x is equal to 540. Therefore 1x is 540 divided by 20, which is equal to 27 degrees. And the question asks the angle B, and angle B is 6x, so 6x is 27 multiplied by 6 is 162 degrees. 162 degrees. So that's that question. Next question. It's a right angle triangle. When you see right angle triangles, you think Pythagoras or you think SOHCAHTOA. Okay? So, for Pythagoras, you need 2 sides. You don't have 2 sides here. You only have 1 side given. So it must be SOHCAHTOA in particular because we've got an angle going on here. So the first thing you do is label your triangle with reference to the angle given. You are given 31. This must be the opposite. This is beside it. It's the adjacent. Don't bother labeling this. It will confuse you. Label the one you want and label the one you've got. Okay. Now, which of the trigonometric ratios has O and A? Well, it's TOA. Okay, so write down what TOA means. TOA always means tan of the angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. So let's substitute in. Tan of 31 must be the opposite h divided by 16. Rearrange by multiplying both sides by 16. So 16 tan 31 must be h. All you've got to do is tap that in your calculator. So tap in 16 tan 31, make sure your calculator's in degrees mode, and you get yourself h is equal to 9.6. Let's leave it at 9.6 to two significant figures. So 9.6 and write two significant figures, because the question you were given two significant figures for both of these, and you'd be done. Next question. Same students took two tests. The scores out of 50 are represented on a cumulative frequency graph, and here it is. How many students took each test? Firstly, first thing to say about cumulative frequency graphs, a quick bit of revision down the side here. Cumulative frequency graphs, along up here is the cumulative total, it's the running total. Cumulative frequency graphs tend to look a bit like that, something of that nature. And whenever the top of the graph would always tell you the total of that you're investigating. And if you're ever trying to read off the graph, you must draw lines on the graph. You must draw lines on the graph. Okay? Otherwise, the examiner will not give you marks. So if you're trying to read out where the middle person is, you must draw a line and read it off using lines. So, how many students took each test? We'll draw a line across, it's clearly 80. You must draw that line, 80. Next question, work out the median score for each test. Now, if 80 people took each test, the middle must happen at 40. So let's draw a line on at 40 for each of these, and then a line down to read off. So for test A is 20, and for test B is 35. So 20 and 35, okay? Then it says, work out the interquartile range for test B is 13. Work out the interquartile range for test A. So the interquartile range is the upper quartile, subtract the lower quartile. The upper quartile, let's remember, happens at 75%, and the lower quartile happens at 25%. It's the top quarter and the bottom quarter. So out of 80, what we're doing here again, sorry, test B with the test A we're working out. Out of 80, the bottom quartile would happen at 25, somewhere like there. And sorry, no, it wouldn't happen at 25. A quarter of 80, so I'm thinking of a quarter of 100. A quarter of 80 is 20, so it would happen here at 15, and the upper quartile must happen at 60, which is 25. So it's 25 take away 15. So it would be 25 take away 15, which is 10. Now, which test is more difficult? Give a reason to support your answer. Look back at the graph. Clearly, the marks scored in test A are lower. And in particular, the median is way lower. The median of test A is 20, whereas the median of test B is 35. So I would state that test A is more difficult, and I would say median test A lower, so on average marks lower on test A. And then I would say obviously that means it's harder. Okay, and you'd be done. Next question. These expressions, we've got an x plus 3 and a 4x, represent three numbers. Work out the mean. Now, if I gave you three numbers, the mean, right, you add the numbers up and you divide by how many? Okay, so we're going to do the same here. I don't care if it's algebra. So the mean must be equal to x plus 3 plus 4x, all divided by 1, 2, 3 numbers, 3. So let's tidy this up. How many x's? 1x, 2x, and 6x. We've got 6x plus 3 over 3. And then what we can do is factorise the top. What goes into 6x and 3? Well, 3 does. We have 2x plus 1 over 3. And at that point, there is a 3 multiplying on top and bottom. We could divide top and bottom by 3, and you would get 2x plus 1 left over. There are 2 marks for adding them and dividing by 3, and the third mark is for simplifying in that form. Okay, we're now asked to solve the following equation. 18 plus 5x, all of that divided by 3 is equal to 10 subtract x. First things first, you've got to divide by 3, multiply both sides by 3 to remove that. So we have 18 plus 5x must be 3 10 subtract x, multiplying both sides by 3. Now expand. So we would have 18 plus 5x must be 30 subtract 3x. Be careful to get that minus correct, that negative. Now what we're going to do is collect like terms. So why don't we add 3x to both sides to start with? So 18 plus 8x is equal to 30. And then we could subtract 18 off both sides. 8x therefore must be equal to 12. Divide both sides by 8. X must be 12 divided by 8. And 12 divided by 8 is 1.5. Okay, so x is equal to 1.5. Do check now that that is actually correct. On the, let's say on the right hand side, 10 take away 1.5 must be 8.5, right? And on this side, 5 multiplied by 1.5 is 7.5. 18 plus 7.5 is 25.5. If you divide that by 3, you do get 8.5 as well. You know you've got the right answer. Next question. Work out the equation of this line. You should know a straight line has form y is equal to mx plus c. M is called the gradient, and c is called the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis. Now here, c is clearly 4. Now, this is the key point here. As you go across 1, you seem to go up a half, so it looks like the gradient's a half. Let's just double check this. If the gradient was a half, that means if we go across 2, we go up 1, and indeed it is true. So c is equal to 4, m is equal to 0.5, therefore y is equal to 0.5x plus 4. Easy, 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 3 marks. Next question. The diagram shows a circle centre O. Work out the value of A. Now, firstly, look at this triangle here. That is a radius, that is a radius. These two lengths must be the same. That's not a radius. We don't know how long that side is. But this line is from the centre to the edge. This line is from the centre to the edge. They are both a radius, so they both must be the same distance. So this is an isosceles triangle, so this is 42. So you could state that angle OBC, okay, the angle at B is 42, and should state it's because it's isosceles. Therefore angle, let's say BOC, where O in the middle, must be 180, subtract 42, subtract 42, which is equal to 96. And then A must be equal to 96 divided by 2, which is equal to 48 degrees. And state the reason. Angle, this is one of your circle theorems, angle at centre, double angle at circumference. And that's one of your circle theorems you need to know. So the answer is 48 degrees. Done. Next question. XTY is a tangent. This line here, going through these points, is a tangent to the circle. Now, there are two parts to this question, but before we do that, you should remember a circle theorem rule. Say you've got a circle, right? And say you've got a tangent to that circle, so a tangent is a line touching the circle. Now, this is a very important rule. This is a hard one to remember. It's called the alternate segment theorem. The angle a tangent makes with a chord, so this whole angle here, is always equal to the opposite angle in the triangle or shape formed. And similarly, this angle with this chord must be equal to this opposite angle here. And that's called the alternate segment theorem. Okay, so on that note, what is x equal to? Well, this angle here must be equal to that angle there. Okay, so therefore it's 64 degrees, and you just state alternate segment theorem. Okay, right, I'm going to rub this out here. Over here now, you should have written that down there. I'm going to write us another circle theorem. Now, if you have a circle and you have a quadrilateral inside the circle, so you have a four-sided shape where each of the corners is on the edge of the circle, this is called a cyclic quadrilateral. Now that angle and that angle add to 180, and that angle and that angle add to 180. So they add to 180. So therefore, this is cyclic, because look, those points, forget about triangles now, we've got a quadrilateral. That angle and that angle must add to 180, so y must be 180, subtract 83, which is 97 degrees. And the reason is cyclic. Just write cyclic quadrilateral. Okay, and you're done. Next question. The table shows the probabilities that I am on time or late for work each day. It also shows the amount of pay deducted for being late each day. Work out the probability that I have £16 deducted over 2 days. So the probability, £16 deducted. Well, that must equal the probability, there are two cases, that is the probability that I'm late less than 30 mins twice, okay, because I'd get £8 deducted each day, which would add up to 16. 30 mins twice, or that I'm late bigger than 30 mins one day. Now when you've got or, you add the probability. So what's the probability, first of all, less than 30 minutes late twice? Well, the events are independent, so it must be 0.3 the first day multiplied by 0.3 the second day. Okay? Actually, what I'm going to do on this, just change my mind, I'm going to do a probability tree. It's probably easier that way. So let's do a probability tree. On the first day, what are the options? I can be either late, I can be on time, late up to 30 minutes, or late bigger than an hour. So therefore I would have on time, and then I would have less than 30 minutes and have bigger than 30 minutes. So this time on time is 0.6, this one is 0.3, and this one's 0.1. And then the next day I would have the exact same scenario. So I'd have the same three things coming out of each one. Okay, so this one would be on time, less than 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, etc. Now let's just, it's obvious therefore how I get at £16. I'm either late less than 30 minutes 2 days, so that would be 0.3 multiplied by 0.3, which is 0.09. Or I'm on time the first day and late more than 30 minutes on the second day, which is 0.6 multiplied by 0.1, which is 0.06. Or I'm late the first day, bigger than an hour, but then I must be on time the second day, so that would be multiplied by 0.6, which is 0.06. Add these up, and it would be 0.09 plus 0.06 plus 0.06, which is actually equal to 0.21. And then I'd be done. Okay, next question. The diagram shows a sector of a circle, part of a circle. Work out the area of the sector. Now, the area of a circle, you should remember this, is pi r squared. How much of the circle do we have? Well, we have 130 degrees out of 360, because around a point would be equal to 360 degrees. So the formula, the area must be equal to 130 divided by 360 multiplied by pi r squared, where r is 8 here. It does say give your answer to a suitable degree of accuracy. So type in your calculator 130 over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by 8 squared, which is 64, and you get yourself 72.6 centimeters squared. Now give your answer to a suitable degree of accuracy. We have here two significant figures. We have here one significant figure. Let's give our answer to two significant figures. Let's say, because we have a 2SF calculation, let's give our answer to as 73 centimeters squared to two significant figures. Okay, next question. In the diagram, angle A is obtuse. Obtuse, remember, means bigger than 90, it means bigger than 90 degrees. Okay, work out the size of angle A. Now, this is clearly a non-right angle triangle. You know that because you're told it's obtuse. So therefore, you are encouraged to use the sine rule or the cosine rule. The question is, which one do you use? Well, you know this angle here and you know the side opposite. And whenever you are given those, that is always encouragement to use the sine rule. Now, the sine rule is given in your formula booklet, okay, and it's given in the formula booklet, and it says sine A over A equals sine B over B. Now, we want to work out angles here, so we want to work out this one. Call this our angle A and this little a, and then the only other one we can work out, we've got this side here, so we could work out this angle here. So let's just call this one little b and this angle here big B. Forget about the diagrams there. So let's say, therefore, that sine of 35 over 8 must be sine of b over 10. So working this one out here, working this one out, times in both sides by 10. 10 sine 35 over 8 is equal to sine b. Therefore, b, take the inverse sine of this number, 10 sine 35 over 8. Okay, so just in one move in your calculator, inverse sine, and then fraction 10 sine 35 over 8 and you get yourself 45.8. So that's 45.8. So label that 45.8. Well, clearly you didn't want that. You wanted angle A. So therefore angle A, I'm just going to do a bit more work, and you should have a bit more space than me, would be 180, subtract the 35, subtract 45.8. And when you do that, you get 99.1 degrees. Let's give our answer to two significant figures we're given in the question. So 99 degrees to two significant figures, 4 marks. Okay, next. N is a positive integer. Prove that this must be a multiple of 2. Now, when you look at that, what students tend to do is put in numbers for n and check it's true for a several 1. That is not a proof. Now, looking at n squared plus 3n plus 2, it's difficult to prove that's a multiple of 2. The only thing you would have ever known to do with something like this is to factorise it, let's say. Two numbers that multiply to 2 and add to 3, or 1 and 2. So this factorises as n plus 1, n plus 2, right? Now, this n plus 1, n plus 2, they are two consecutive numbers. They are consecutive numbers on the number line. Because this one is 1 more than that one, right? So they're consecutive numbers if n is an integer, if n is whole. So with consecutive numbers, 1 therefore must be even. Because with consecutive numbers, 1 is odd, 1 is even. So therefore, n plus 1 multiplied by n plus 2 must be even. Therefore, it is a multiple of 2. Okay? And that is your answer. Okay, question 26. Sketch the graph y equals x cubed. Now, you should learn this, really. If you are stuck with these, you're not supposed to draw tables, but why not? Put x in, put y in. Put x for, say, let's say, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and let's see y. If you cube -2, you get -8. If you cube -1, you get -1. If you cube 0, you get 0. If you cube 1, you get 1. If you cube 2, you get 8. So, -2 goes with -8. -1 goes with -1. 0 goes with 0, 1 goes with 1, and sorry, that should have said 8 there, and 2 goes with 8. So the graph looks something like that, okay? And it's sort of symmetrical in that way, okay? So you should have been able to get it by doing this, but remember that an x cubed graph looks like that. If I was to draw an x cube, I just remember these ones. X cubed graph looks something like that, okay? Now the next one, 1 over x. Now again, you should know this graph, but if you're stuck, draw a quick table. It will really help you out. Let's pick x. Let's say from -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. It might help. What y do we get? 1 over -3 is -1/3. 1 over -2 is -1/2. 1 over -1 is -1. 1 over 0 is undefined on your calculator. It's infinite. It's like infinity. 1 over 1 is 1. 1 over 2 is 1/2. 1 over 3 is 1/3. Let's try and plot these. -3 goes with 1/3. -2 goes with -1/2. -1 goes with -1, something like that. And here it's infinity. 1 goes with 1. 2 goes with -2 goes with 1/2, and 3 goes with 1/3. Now what we should do as well, in this case, that's not really helping us out much, because someone might actually draw a graph that looks a bit like this. They might say, oh look, something like that would work, which is obvious. Let's just try, let's say x is equal to 1/2. Okay, if x is 1/2, 1 over 1/2 is 2. So 1/2 goes with 2. So actually you can start seeing that there's a bit more to it than that. And 1 over 0 we said is infinite. So actually the graph looks something like that. And be careful, it doesn't come back like that. It keeps going towards infinity like that. Now, that is if you're stuck, but please just remember a 1 over x graph. 1 over x graph, be very careful, it looks like this. It shoots off towards infinity when x is 0, and it shoots off towards 0, y is 0 when x is infinity, and it does the same thing over in this quadrant. That's 1 over x. Just learn it. Next question, is this a right angled triangle? For right angled triangles, you know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Let's check this. These two look like the shorter ones, this looks like the longer. Let's check they square up. Now this, 5.8 times 10 to the 2, in standard form, if you just type that in your calculator, it's 580. 1.16 times 10 to the 3, if you type that in your calculator, it's 1160. And so we're just checking. So let's do 580 squared plus 1160 squared. Let's see what you get. 580 squared plus 1160 squared, you get 1682. So 1,682,000. And then if you do 580 root 2, if you take that and square it, the whole of it, put it in brackets in your calculator, 580 root 2, close brackets, and square it. Oh, sorry, it's root 5. My apologies, this should be root 5. Tap that in your calculator. And again, you get 1682000. Therefore, Pythagoras holds. Therefore, Pythagoras holds. Therefore, right angled. Okay? And then the last one, you're solving simultaneous equations. Label them 1 and 2. Here's equation 1, here's equation 2. They're both equal to y, so make them equal each other. Let 1 equal 2. i.e. 10 subtract x is equal to 2x squared plus 4. You have a quadratic. You can't solve a quadratic until one side's 0. So add x to both sides and subtract 10. 0 would be 2x squared, add x, subtract 6 therefore. And you want to solve this. Now you could solve it using the quadratic formula, or you could factorise as easiest. How would you get 2x squared? It'd be a 2x there, must be an x there, to get the 2x squared. How would you times up to -6? Well, to times -6 would be 3 and 2, and one of them's a plus, one's a minus. So why don't we put a +2 there and a -3 there? Does that work? Yes, because 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. -3 times x is -3x. And -3 times 2 is -6. And these two combine to give you the x you want. So 2 brackets equals 0. Therefore, either 2x subtract 3 is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. Therefore, x is add 3 and then divide by 2 is 3 over 2 or 1.5, or x is equal to -2. So x on the one hand is 1.5 or it's -2. Sub it back into the easiest equation up here to get the y value. 10 take away 1.5 would be 8.5. That would match with this one. And 10 subtract -2 would be 12. That would match with that one. And that is your answer to the last question.